Hello and welcome back to our channel. Tonight we're stepping back in time to a chilly November evening in 1974 to a packed arena in Memphis where the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, was about to have an experience that would change him forever. It wasn't a planned stunt or a flashy stage trick. It was a single angelic voice rising from a crowd of 25,000 screaming fans, a voice that would stop the king in his tracks and leave an entire Coliseum speechless. This is the incredible true story of how a 9-year-old blind girl named Sarah Thompson sang her way into Elvis Presley's heart and reminded the world of the true power of music. The date was November 3rd, 1974. The Mid-South Coliseum was buzzing with an electric energy that only an Elvis concert could generate. The lights dimmed, the band kicked in, and Elvis burst onto the stage, radiating his signature charisma. He launched into his set, moving with effortless swagger through his hits. The audience was ecstatic, hanging on every note, every hip shake, every smile. But somewhere in that massive sea of faces was one small girl whose love for the king was deeper than most could ever imagine. Her name was Sarah Thompson. She was 9 years old and had been blind since birth. But Sarah never let her lack of sight dim her world. In fact, it had only amplified her other senses, especially her connection to music. She couldn't see the performers on stage, but she could feel the rhythm in her bones, sense the soul behind the melody, and live inside every note with a passion that was pure and unfiltered. That night, she had memorized every single word to every one of Elvis's songs, and she was ready to sing along with all her heart. As the concert progressed, the opening chords of one of Elvis's most iconic ballads, "Love Me Tender," filled the arena. As Elvis began to sing, the crowd joined in, a chorus of thousands of voices. But then, something extraordinary happened. Piercing through the gentle roar of the audience was one voice, a single thread of sound that was impossibly clear, pure, and trembling with a raw, honest emotion. It was so beautiful, so heartfelt, that it was undeniable. Elvis stopped, mid-song. He held up a hand, and the band, sensing his cue, faltered to a stop. A hush began to fall over the crowd as Elvis leaned into the microphone. Wait a minute," he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper. "Who's singing that? Who is that?" The entire Coliseum quieted, everyone turning to their neighbors, trying to find the source of the magical voice. All eyes, and more importantly, Elvis's ears, were now focused on finding the young girl in the crowd. The voice belonged, of course, to Sarah. To her, this wasn't a performance. It was a conversation between her soul and the music she loved. Her voice wasn't just beautiful. It was honest. It was the sound of pure, unadulterated love for a song. In that moment, she was seeing Elvis with her heart in a way no one else in that arena could. And every note she sang seemed to vibrate right into the core of the king himself. Elvis, the man famous for his electrifying energy and unshakable stage presence, stood completely still. The spotlight shone on him, but his attention was elsewhere. As he listened, tears began to well up in his eyes. He was hearing something he hadn't heard in years. Not in the recording studios, not in the sold-out stadiums, but here, from a little girl in the crowd. It was the sound of music in its purest form. Then he did something that no one expected. He pointed out into the crowd and said, "Honey, can you come up here? I want you to sing with me." A wave of murmurs rippled through the audience. A path was cleared, and a tiny hand, guided by her mother, reached out towards the stage. A moment later, little Sarah Thompson was standing next to her idol, Elvis Presley. He knelt down to her level, the microphone between them. The band quietly started the music again, and the duet began. Elvis sang a line, and Sarah, without a hint of fear, harmonized with him. Her voice, so innocent and clear, floated above the orchestra, filling the vast, silent arena. It was a moment of breathtaking beauty. The thousands of people who came for a rock and Roll Show were now witnesses to something far more profound, an intimate connection forged through song. Elvis was completely overcome. The king of rock and roll, the man who had captivated audiences across the globe for 2 decades, was now the one who was captivated. Tears were openly streaming down his face as he looked at Sarah, utterly moved. When the song finished, the arena was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Elvis leaned in and whispered into the mic, his voice thick with emotion. You sing like an angel. That's incredible." The crowd erupted, not with wild cheers, but with a wave of heartfelt applause. People were crying, reaching for tissues, and sharing looks of stunned amazement. They had just witnessed a moment of pure, unscripted magic. And Sarah, blissfully unaware of the profound effect she was having on 25,000 people and a music legend, just smiled, happy to have sung with her hero. That night, she reminded everyone that the true power of music isn't about fame or fortune. It's about its incredible ability to connect souls and transcend all barriers. After the concert, Elvis couldn't stop talking about Sarah. He reportedly told his bandmates and friends that her voice was the purest thing I've ever heard. For a man who had experienced unimaginable fame, who had heard the roar of adoring crowds all over the world, this simple, honest moment with a young girl had grounded him. It reminded him that the real magic of his craft wasn't in the flashing lights or the applause, but in the raw, human emotion that music could unlock. And for Sarah, that night was a revelation. She discovered that her voice had a power she never knew. It had moved the king of rock and roll and an entire stadium of people, not because it was perfect, but because it was genuine. She learned that her disability didn't define her limits. Her heart and her passion were limitless. Inspired by this experience, Sarah Thompson went on to become a music therapist. She dedicated her life to helping children with disabilities discover the same joy and connection she found in music. And every time she sang, she carried with her the memory of that night, the night her voice reached across the darkness to touch the soul of a king. That concert taught Elvis a lesson he carried with him for the rest of his life. The greatest moments aren't always the biggest. He began to incorporate more personal, spontaneous interactions with his fans into his shows, always searching for that spark of genuine connection. He learned that fame is fleeting, but those pure human moments are what last forever. Sarah remained a cherished friend of Elvis. She would visit him backstage whenever he was in town, sharing songs and laughter with the man who once stopped a concert just to listen to her. Their beautiful friendship continued until his passing in 1977. Their story is now remembered as one of the most heartwarming moments in music history, a powerful reminder that music can transcend age, ability, and fame. Today, Sarah continues her work, inspiring a new generation of children to feel the joy of music, just as she did on that unforgettable night. The story of what happened at the Mid-South Coliseum reminds us all that music isn't just entertainment. It's connection, it's empathy, it's love. And sometimes, if you listen closely enough, it can even make the king of rock and roll cry. If this story touched your heart, think about a song that has moved you to tears. What was it? Share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories about the power of music to connect us all. Thanks for watching. You stayed with us until the end. So now, let's dive even deeper into what really happened that unforgettable night at the Mid-South Coliseum. After that miraculous moment, Elvis couldn't stop thinking about Sarah Thompson. He told his closest friends that her voice had touched him in ways he didn't think were possible anymore. He had spent decades performing, thrilling millions of fans. Yet here was a 9-year-old blind girl, just 9 years old, whose voice reminded him why he had fallen in love with music in the first place. Imagine the king of rock and roll. Backstage after the show, the applause still echoing in the arena, quietly replaying Sarah's singing in his mind. Tears ran down his cheeks as he whispered to his manager, I don't know why, but she sang right into my soul. And it wasn't just the beauty of her voice. It was the honesty, the purity, the way she had no pretense or fear. No matter the screaming crowd, no flashing lights, no expectation of perfection, Sarah sang from her heart. That's the kind of performance that stops even the most seasoned performer in their tracks. Elvis later told friends that the moment with Sarah changed his perspective on music forever. He realized that a song isn't just a song. It's a connection. It's a way to reach someone's heart without even needing to see them. And in Sarah's case, her blindness gave her an extraordinary ability to see Elvis in a way no one else could. Beyond the fame, beyond the lights, beyond the legend, straight into the man himself. Sarah's family later shared stories about Elvis sending her handwritten notes, small gifts and words of encouragement whenever he could. He urged her to keep singing, to keep sharing her gift, and to use her voice to help others. He told her that her talent wasn't just for performing, it was a gift to heal hearts, and that's exactly what she did. In the years that followed, Sarah became a music therapist, dedicating her life to helping children with disabilities experience the joy and power of music. Every time she sang with a child, every time she helped a student discover their own voice, a part of that night lived on, the night she made Elvis Presley cry in front of 25,000 people. There's something magical about moments like that, moments that defy explanation. Many of the fans who were there that night later recalled feeling a stillness in the arena that they'd never experienced before. Thousands of voices silenced at once, all listening, all witnessing something that was bigger than a concert, bigger than fame, bigger than music itself. And here's a little secret not many people know. Elvis would sometimes mention Sarah in interviews without ever naming her. He said, "I've met people who remind me why I sing. One little girl, she made me stop and really listen. That's a moment I'll never forget." Imagine how profound that is for a man used to commanding stadiums, to be reminded that sometimes the smallest voice carries the greatest power. This story isn't just about Elvis. It's about every person who has ever felt the world underestimate them. Sarah's blindness didn't stop her. It amplified her ability to connect, to express, to touch lives in ways most people will never understand. And for Elvis, it reminded him that even the smallest, purest gestures can change everything. Think about this. Every time you sing, every time you play an instrument, every time you put your heart into music, you have the potential to change someone's life, just like Sarah did. You may never know the full impact, and you may never stand on a stage with the king of rock and roll, but the power of music is universal. It can break barriers, cross oceans, and reach places the eyes cannot see. And for those of you listening right now, remember this. Moments of magic often appear when we least expect them. A tiny voice can stop the world for a heartbeat. A song can bring a stranger to tears. A melody can heal a wounded heart. That's the lesson of Sarah Thompson and Elvis Presley. That's the power of music at its purest. So the next time you hear a song that moves you, a note that makes you shiver, or a voice that stops you in your tracks, remember, you're witnessing something extraordinary. And maybe, just maybe, you have the ability to create that magic yourself. Sarah's story didn't end that night. It continues every day through the lives she touches, the children she inspires, and the music she shares. And Elvis? He carried that lesson with him. A quiet reminder that music isn't about the lights, the fame, or the applause. It's about connection, empathy, and love. If you stayed with us until now, give yourself a smile. You've just witnessed a story about courage, talent, and the incredible impact one person can have on another. And maybe, just maybe, it inspires you to share your own voice with the world today. Because the truth is, music is magic and magic has no limits. Thank you for staying until the end. And remember, every voice matters. Every song has the power to move, and every moment of music can change a life. Sometimes in ways you never imagined.